excited as I am to begin our unit on Edgar Allan Poe. The first thing that I would like you to do is to take out your chart that I gave you before you left class today. It is a KWL chart, and you should be familiar with how to fill one of these out, as we've done them several times in the past. I'd like you to fill out the K and the W columns before we begin today's lesson. Of course, in the K column, please write things that you know about our author, Edgar Allan Poe, and in the W column, things that you would like to know about Poe. We will return to this chart at the end of our unit when you'll fill in the L column of what you learned. If you don't have your chart with you, there is a copy here on the screen. Please take your notes on a separate sheet of paper. And again, I'd like you to fill out the what I know and the what I want to know columns, putting at least 5 items in each of the 2 columns. Please take a few moments to complete this. On the left-hand side of your screen, you will notice a comic that is satirical of Poe's works. We'll revisit this comic as well at the end of our unit, when you may more fully appreciate the humor that the cartoonist has depicted here. I'd like you to finish off taking your notes and sit back and watch this intro video about Edgar Allan Poe. Enjoy.
Edgar Allan Poe was America's first great lyric poet, the inventor of the modern detective story, a pioneer of science fiction, and the master of the macabre. Over the course of just 40 years, Poe became the first internationally influential American writer. Although he resided in New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore, it was here in Richmond that Poe lived most of his life and called home. After having been orphaned in Richmond at the age of 2, Poe grew up and began his career in journalism here, and he spent the last months of his life in this city before his untimely death in 1849 at the age of 40. Welcome to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum, the world's finest collection of Edgar Allan Poe artifacts and memorabilia. The museum's 4 buildings of exhibits document the life and literary career of the American author who brought us such classic tales and poems as The Telltale Heart, The Cask of Amontillado, and The Raven. A visit to the Poe Museum is a voyage back in time to the early 19th century Richmond that Poe called home. Although none of the buildings in which Poe lived during his 13 years in the city have survived, furniture, building materials, and architectural elements from buildings in which Poe lived and worked were incorporated into the museum complex. Just as Poe's tales of murder and madness have entertained generations of readers, the story of his own tormented life continues to fascinate the public. History views Poe as a mysterious figure who survived on the verge of starvation, battling depression and illness to support his devoted family. His brief life would carry him from city to city in a quest to become the first American writer to make a living solely from his writing. Time and time again, he saw those closest to him succumb to the disease tuberculosis, while he continued to produce some of the best-known poems in American literature. Aside from these details, most people know little about who Poe was and how he produced work so unlike what had come before it. To this day, scholars still debate over how much of his life went into his writing, and even the cause of his death remains a mystery. The Poe Museum will now introduce you to the man behind the legend. You will have the opportunity to meet Poe by seeing how he lived and worked. As you tour the museum, look for possible sources of inspiration, and maybe you can help unravel the mystery of Poe's life and work.
Well, I hope you were able to learn something about Edgar Allan Poe from that short video. Please take a moment and write down at least 2 things that you learned about Poe, his writing, or him as a person. And I'm very excited to share with you that we will be going on a virtual field trip today to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. What I would like to do is have you visit 3 stations at the museum, of course virtually, where you will discover for yourself a little bit about the author, the man, the writer, and then share that with us tomorrow in class as we begin our study of the stories of Poe. So welcome to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. We are very happy to have you here. At the first station, I would like you to examine our first artifact, which is a sketch of Poe. What I'm most interested in is you determining what does it tell us about Poe or his life. So please take a moment and examine the sketch that is in front of you. This is not the only sketch that was done of Poe. Several exist. This one captures the essence of his works, the essence of the writer, and really begins to put into perspective the mystery and the uncertainties that surround the author. If you're not done, that's okay. You can revisit any part of this PowerPoint at your convenience and revisit the sketch and finish taking your notes. Remember that we are taking all of these notes in our museum packets that I also handed to you on your way out of class today. These packets will serve as a guide. They have additional follow-up questions that may be useful if you want to explore further the artifacts that are being presented to you. The second artifact that I would like you to examine is Virginia's trinket box. And I have a short snippet of information regarding the trinket box and Virginia, Poe's wife, that I would like you to listen to. So once again, if you need to take notes, please flip to page 2 of your museum packet and feel free to use any of the blank space to record your notes before you answer the essential question for this artifact.
This is the trinket box once owned by Poe's wife, Virginia. She would have used it to carry her trinkets and small jewelry. One of Poe's friends, George Graham, described Virginia as
a lady angelically beautiful in person and not less in spirit. I remember how we, the friends of the poet, used to talk of her high qualities. And when we talked of her beauty, I well knew that the rose tint upon her cheek was too bright, too pure to be of earth. It was consumption's color, that sadly beautiful light that beckons to an early tomb.
At the age of 19, Virginia began coughing up blood, a sign that she had contracted tuberculosis. After 5 agonizing years, Poe's beloved wife finally succumbed to the disease. She was 24. Overcome with grief, Poe found a manuscript of Eulalie, his poem celebrating the joys of married life, and added the following verses.
Deep in earth my love is lying, and I must weep alone.
Poe entered a long period of depression and ill health from which he would never recover. He would follow Virginia to the grave only 2 years later. Although Edgar and Virginia had died and been buried in different cities, Poe's admirers eventually relocated Virginia's remains and buried them next to her husband nearly 30 years after her death.
I'll give you a little bit more insight into Virginia. As I said, Poe's wife, as you just heard in the short video clip. She also died of tuberculosis. This is something that we want to keep in the back of our minds as we begin to read Poe. And as we continue in this unit, I will remind us and emphasize the fact that the author is not the character or the narrator of the stories. Elements of his life may seep into his work, but we should remember that they are two separate entities. Please take a moment to further examine the trinket box. Think about the size of it, what might have been stored inside. What does it tell us about the wealth or the lack thereof of Poe and his family? Once again, if you need more time, not a problem. Just revisit this slide of the PowerPoint at your convenience to finish filling out your questions for Artifact 2. Now I'd like to move us on to Artifact 3, which is Poe's grave. Now, the one that is pictured here is just one of the markers, as Poe's death is surrounded in great mystery. There are several markers, tombstones, to commemorate his passing. What I would like to talk about at this point are all of the different theories that surround his death. So if you turn to page 3 of your museum packet, you will find 3 different theories that I think are most important for you to understand the types of things or the types of beliefs that people had in regards to his death. Even to this day, there is no clear answer as to what happened and what led to such an early death. So please take a moment to answer your questions that I provided you. And once again, feel free to come back and revisit this slideshow or to discover for yourself some of the theories that surround his death through some online searching using the research techniques that we've been talking about. Feel free to go above and beyond the materials provided here to further your understanding of the poet, the short story writer, and the man himself. So thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed your visit to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. It was a pleasure to have you. I will collect your sheets tomorrow in class. I look forward to seeing you.